So, tell me about this movie of yours. It's incredible. I love it.
Oh, thank you. It's fun. It's a guilty pleasure. Those types of films always are the horror genre. I think this is like a Friday Night Frights, escapism vibe. It's from Asylum Group, from the people who brought you Sharknado. So, it's got a little tongue in cheek. It's definitely got its jump scares, but it is called Titanic 666. So, if you know of the brand Titanic and you know of the brand 666, you can just let your imagination begin to wander a bit. There's the maiden voyage of the Titanic 3, which is a cruise ship made to look like Titanic, taking the voyage that the original ship took. And on board, seances occur, unbeknownst to the other passengers, and all kinds of actual hell might break loose. My character is in a world all her own, completely in her own existence of the social media influencer world. And so it was very fun to play this, um, that vapid, lovely lady who's absolutely atrocious.
Oh my goodness. So, how'd you prepare for the role? Because you're like one of the most lovely people. I've known you 5 minutes. You're already one of the most lovely people I know.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you. It's funny. I've played a lot of villains. I've played a lot of different characters. I don't believe they're villains, so there's that. I think that there's no such thing. I think that we're all good. We're all bad. We're all light. We're all dark. We all have dualistic nature within us. So for me, it's who's the little girl underneath the big mask that Mia Stone is masquerading behind. And that's a little girl who needs validation. So to me, they're all of my characters, as gnarly as they may appear, they're all my little kids, little parts of me that are stored away in little boxes. But she never got validated at home, and so she had to go out in the world and build a following of 12 million followers, and now that's her family, and she has to perform for them because she doesn't necessarily know if she's worth that much otherwise, is my take on it. So I build from there. And on top of that becomes a big, whatever obnoxious energy that she performs. But ever so often you get just a tiny little detail that there's a human somewhere tucked inside. And most of my work is instinctual. I don't do too much planning, but I personally have watched Schitt's Creek 9 gazillion times, and somewhere in my cells is Annie Murphy's broken wrists. If you've ever seen Schitt's Creek, so there is some Annie Murphy that pops out, whether I liked it or not. And I think she's so wonderful. She's an incredible comedian, and we're taught as actors to steal from the greats. So I stole from one of the greats.
Oh, that's incredible. And what would you say was the biggest challenge about playing her?
I I wouldn't say there was as much of a challenge to play her as there was a challenge to do this film. We were filming on the Queen Mary, and we were doing it obviously during COVID, and there were all kinds of extenuating circumstances that went on. I think playing Mia actually made it a lot of fun because and along with having Nick Lyon as our director, who just gave me carte blanche to just let her be whatever I wanted her to be. He was like, play with the lines, improvise, do whatever you want. And his biggest note was, stop making me laugh over your lines, which, just makes the little actress in me, my little ego, like, stop, tell me more, tell me more. So there, I think it was really, she alleviated some of the wild challenges that we were up against with a very tight schedule, with COVID kind of complicating things, and just the nature of filming on a historic landmark that is said to be rather haunted. So there was an aspect of that played a role in the filming of the film itself.
Yeah, it's incredible. Now, were you a fan of Titanic and all that before you filmed this?
Oh, it's literally the only reason I did it. I mean, or the main reason I should say. I didn't read the script. I was so excited about doing a project with the name Titanic in it. I was obsessed with the history of Titanic. I spent an entire year when I was 10 years old, like going to the library, where we used to go down rabbit holes, and grabbing as many books as I could possibly bring outside to the car and just pouring through the history and every detail from it being built in Belfast, Ireland, to why it broke in half during the sinking of the original ship, and all the details in between. I was fascinated with everything to do with Titanic, and it stemmed from James Cameron's Titanic. There might have been a little crush on Jack Dawson thrown in there, Leonardo DiCaprio. I think we all were there. But it just, I loved that. I loved learning about that ship. And I ended up I was homeschooled, but at the end of the year, we did a homeschool end of year program, and I did a 22-minute report on the sinking of the Titanic, or the whole thing, the building, the voyage, the sinking, everything. And to this day, like, I remember the facts that I learned. I was so fascinated with it as a kid. And so my little inner child was like, you're obviously doing this movie for us, so just say yes. And when I drove up and saw the Queen Mary sitting there, and it just holds the aesthetic of driving up to what it might have looked like to drive up to a smaller Titanic, I was just like, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun.
Nice. So you're really into it. There's a guy on TikTok called Titanic Guy, and he just did a special that's on Tubi that came out like last week or something, and it's just so incredible. And I thought of you when I did the interview for it last week. It's so good. You got to check it out.
I'm gonna have to check that out for sure. I was definitely having fun with all the interviews, reminiscing on my little rabbit hole of learning about the Titanic when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's incredible. And what would you say was your favorite memory about filming, other than it being about Titanic?
It was so much fun to play around. I think the we take ourselves very seriously in Hollywood, very serious. We're big people who play dress up pretend, but it's very serious. So a good bit of the film is very serious. But I think what was really cool was working with Derek Yates, who played my husband. And we were just trying to come up with ways to just, have fun and do wacky, crazy stuff that influencers might do in this kind of setting, and how they might do it and what they might say to their followers as they're live streaming. And working with him and just kind of playing around and like not really knowing exactly what we wanted to do sometimes, and just playing with it and finding it. Those are some of the fun moments for me.
Nice. So did you talk to any influencers before you filmed to get an idea of what they were like?
Well, it's interesting. My sister Rachel, she runs what's called the McCord list, and she actually has an entire network of influencers. So she puts together events where she has, 25, 30, sometimes 50 or more high level influencers who all come out, and they kind of work around brands, and it's kind of elevating the brand and elevating the influencers reach, and it's kind of just a shared synergy type thing. And she does these big events for that. And so I was actually in a party bus with her and all of her girls on the way to a photo shoot in the desert one time. And it was so interesting because you're talking with people who are building all of their own content. And I think that I'd been a little judgy before. And after spending time with them, I realized I have a team. I have a hair, I have makeup, I have camera crew, they all do the work. I show up and do what I'm here to do. But content providers are doing a lot of work. They're the whole crew. They're the editors. They're the lighting. They're the camera. They're having to put so much investment in themselves in order to just get that content out there and to be able to make ends meet and have a living doing this job. So I had a newfound respect for it, and working with my sister and kind of just seeing behind the scenes what these young men and women do. But they do feel the need to perform, is one of the things that I saw. And you would talk with them, and you'd have beautiful human to human conversations. And then there was like a little persona that they kind of step into, not unlike a character that I would play. It's just by the same name. So there was an aspect of Mia that was we kind of dabbled around and I talked to the director. I was like, do you have a preference? But I think it's interesting if she has her own voice and then she kind of does a little voice for the camera, like because I watched this happen and it was so curious to me. It was like they are separating, whether they are conscious of it or not, they're separating who they are in that world from who they are when they interact person to person. And I thought it was very interesting. And we opted for me to go ahead and do that choice to have a little differentiation. She is kind of caught up in her world, but there's a little more human to Mia than she lets on to her 12 million followers. And so that was a choice that we made.
Really nice. And what's one thing you hope people like about Titanic 666?
Well, I hope honestly it's an escapism. I hope that if you love the Titanic, the story of the Titanic, the original movie by James Cameron, or just anything, that you'll get some beautiful aesthetics of this gorgeous, wonderful monstrosity that we all are so fascinated with. But just there's so much going on in our world. If you can turn your brain off for an hour and a half or so and just have a fright night, like have a thrill, have a little shrill thrill, have some fun with my character and her wild crazy husband. That's it. That's all. It's what we do in entertainment. It's a gift to be able to have dreamed to be an actress and grow up and actually make it happen. So the biggest thing for me is I hope that in your very serious life where you have to deal with serious things, that ever so often you get to take the weight off your shoulders, watch something that might be silly or fun or scary or not scary, but it is an escapism, whatever it is to you. I hope you have an hour and a half of your time where you get to chill back and have some popcorn and enjoy the show.
Absolutely. And I think everybody's going to love it. And what's next for you? I mean, this is getting ready to come out. People are going to absolutely fall in love with your character. But what do you have coming up next?
I just wrapped a film, actually, that's part of a franchise called Rear View. So I'm in Rear View 2. They're filming Rear View 1 and Rear View 2 simultaneously, the kind of end of Rear View 1. And it has Thomas Jane and Sean Patrick Flannery and Richard Grieco and a lot of wonderful talent in it. But the lead is Tony Sheena, who's actually, to me, he's a leading man in real life. He has led an unbelievable life. And I know him from the world of fighting human trafficking, which I've been involved in for the last decade and a half almost, fighting human trafficking in Cambodia, Southeast Asia, and raising awareness for it globally with my campaign, The Love Storm. And Tony and I met several years ago. He has done unbelievable work in that field of creating operations and going undercover, and has a background in espionage with the South African government. He's done all these things, and then he's living this life where he has a security company that he hires ex-CIA and FBI and Navy SEALs, and they are badasses. And then he's an actor as well, and he's actually really amazing on screen too. So I personally just really enjoyed the project. It was we just wrapped it last week in Vegas, and it probably will be out sometime later next year. But definitely look out for the Rear View franchise. That is a very hard sentence to say 3 times fast.
Yeah, but we'll definitely have to have you back on to promote that as well, because it's going to be incredible. I can feel it. And I have so much respect for anyone that does that kind of work. And I have so much respect for you, not only as an actress, but as a person. You're incredible.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Sammy. It's
Of
so nice to talk
course.
to you.
Likewise. And where can we follow you on social media so we could follow your amazing adventures?
Yeah, you can check me out at the AnnaLynne McCord, and for my organization at the Love Storm. So
Beautiful. I'll send both of them a follow. Thank you for taking the time today. I can't wait to talk to you again in the future.
thanks, Sammy. Sounds good.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Guys, thank you.